Okay, guys, let's talk about universal spiritual law. Why am I so hyped up about universal spiritual law? I'm going to tell you why. Because universal spiritual laws are laws that are brought down or created by our God, by our universe. They're not your 10 commandments that religion teach you. They're not anything to do with organized religion. They are broad spectrum of common sense, basic humanity. And if we listen to these universal laws, I'm only going to go over 12 of them, but there are some teachings that have more than that. But if we follow these common sense universal laws and we apply them to our everyday life, our lives can change 100%. So I'm going to go over them and give little explanations as to what they all mean and why it's important, especially in this course, in this modular of courses that I'm doing is with manifestation, because if you follow these universal spiritual laws and you implement them into your life, manifestation is going to come extremely easy for you because you've opened up your etheric field, you've opened yourself up to the universal spiritual law. The universe hears what you're saying and it's going to reflect that back to you. Our thoughts create our reality. So if we walk through life talking about how miserable we are and how we have lack of and we don't have enough of things, that's what the universe is going to give back to us. The very first law in universal spiritual law is the law of divine oneness. Everything's interconnected. Your thoughts, your actions, your belief affect your whole life. So when you smile at a stranger, right, and you're walking and you smile at them, their mood lifts. They will automatically smile back at you. Most people will, some people don't, but that's their energy, that's not yours. But energy is contagious. If you've ever experienced a jollyologist, okay, somebody who goes in, they go into like elderly nursing homes and stuff, and they make people laugh. Comedians make people laugh. It's contagious. If one or two people start to laugh, other people start to laugh. So it's a rippling effect. It goes out beyond you. Then the second one is law of vibration. Everything is energy. Everything in this world, this is scientifically proven, has a vibration and a frequency, okay? So when you walk into a room, okay, and somebody's been arguing in that room, you can feel that tension as soon as you walk in the room. It may be body language of the person, the people that are there. It may be just the energy that's in the room. That's vibration. Or when you go into a concert, you're at a concert and the music's really going. Your whole body. I get that when I go to church, and I'm not into organized religion, but I love going to this church that's here in my town because it's all music. And I love music, and I sit very close to the speaker because I want to feel the vibration. I want to feel that vibration, that frequency. So when you're joyful, when you're happy, when you're upbeat and you're feeling great, people are going to be drawn to that because we're all connected. Remember, go back to number 1. The law of correspondence, as within, so without, as above, so below. Your outer world mirrors your inner world. If you live in chaos, so now my room isn't really super clean right now, but if I had boxes piled up and I had garbage on the floor, it's clutter. It's not clear. It's not a place where my energy can flow. And so whatever's outside of us is also going to mirror what goes on inside of us. If we're in a very toxic relationship or just work environments can be the worst. If you're not happy at what you're doing and it's toxic, find another job, okay? Because we weren't put on this earth to be miserable. All right. Or if finding another job is not in your cards and it's not something that you can do, you can shift your energy. All right. Shift your energy and see if that helps the other people around you shift theirs. Some examples is if your mind is cluttered with worry, your desk, your car, your house, it could be an indication that you're full of clutter. So when you calm your thoughts, you'll find yourself that you can clean, you can create, you can get order around you. But it starts here. It starts within yourself. Law of attraction, we've all heard of the law of attraction. If you think of the movie The Secret, that's where this law became like, oh my God, the law of attraction. Everybody talks about it. The law of attraction is like attracts like. Your focus draws in matching experiences. When you keep saying, I never have enough money, your bills pile up. When you focus on gratitude for every dollar, every opportunity, abundance will begin to appear. That's manifestation, okay? That's manifestation in a nutshell. However, then we've got the law of inspired action. You could sit and create vision boards and, say that you want to go on this cruise, or you want to live in this house, you want to have that car. Those are all 3D, by the way, materialistic things. But let's just say self-growth. You want to be happy, you want to be fulfilled. You have to take the action. Manifestation requires action aligned with intuition, not just wishing. So you want to write a book. Okay, visualization helps, but opening your computer and start typing a page a day, that's action. That's making it real. You're putting the work in. You're creating the action that it takes to do that. Sorry. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is always moving. So you can transform dense energy into higher frequencies. I could be having the most miserable day, and I could sit and put on music, put on my headphones, and the frequency of that music can shift my energy in a heartbeat. Here's an example. You feel anxious, so you take a deep breath, you put on calming music, and you journal, and then you're going to transform whatever it is that's bothering you into clarity. Journaling is huge. I'm bad, because I will only journal if I'm angry. If I'm angry, if I'm frustrated, if I'm just having a really bad day, I will journal. I need to start learning to journal with gratitude. I need to start doing the opposite of that. But I have to take universal spiritual law number 3 and put that into action. The law of cause and effect. This is your karma. Excuse me for the frog in my throat. Usually early in the morning, if I haven't talked to people or I haven't taught a class yet, this is what happens. But karma, every action has a ripple effect. What you sow is what you reap. You help a neighbor carry in your groceries, and a week later, someone shows up to help you when your car won't start. That's karma. Karma isn't always bad. People always say, oh, karma's going to get you, karma's going to get you. Well, yeah, karma, it will get you if you do bad things, but it also gets you if you do good things. Universal law number 8, law of compensation. I'm putting these in numerical order, but just know that there's really no set order. It's just understanding what the laws are. The law of compensation. The universe balances and rewards your efforts, often in unexpected ways. It's not always about money, okay? You freely share your knowledge online. I freely share my knowledge. Most of my courses are free. And then later a client reaches out saying your content inspired them to write a book or inspired them to book a session with me. See, I'm more about how it inspires them to move on with their life. That's why I said requires them to write a book. But, to get that compensation back, just putting that little bit out there sometimes will come back to you tenfold. And that's what that means. The law of relativity. Nothing is inherently good or bad. It's all relative and for perspective. So when one door closes, another door opens. That's what that means. I'll never forget, I worked with a gentleman who was in his late 30s, who was a camp counselor. He was what do you call that when they go to college all the time? A veteran college goer. Like, he was in college forever and in his 30s, and he was a camp counselor, and he just, he wasn't really going anywhere with his life. But we got along great. This was my summer job. And at the end of this one summer, he got fired, and he was devastated. He was like, what am I going to do? This is, because he was comfortable in his little bubble. And I said, you know what, Ken? Sometimes when one door closes, another door opens. And, you have to look at this as going to be an opportunity for you to take some of that schooling and start doing something with it. Long story short, about a year later, he opened up his own private practice as a therapist, working with clients, and he called me and he said, hey, how do you feel about working with me, But I didn't want to go through the schooling. I'm being honest. I didn't want to go through the schooling, and I didn't want to become a counselor or a therapist. But it was just the fact that he was devastated at the time, but it pushed him to start his new career. And that's the truth. The law of polarity. Everything has an opposite. Contrast help you learn balance. You understand more deeply because you've known sadness. Hot tea feels comfortable on a cold day, but not so much in the summertime. That's understanding for me. Okay, I can teach or consult or I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but I can help someone who has been SA'd because I've had that experience. I cannot help someone who has been on heavy duty drugs because I've never been on drugs. Do you see where I'm going with this? So not to say that people that have never been SA'd or people that have never been on drugs can't help people. Counselors do it all the time. But you have to remember, they're working from a pharmaceutical, medical book. They're working from that avenue. The work that I do is on a soul level. It's on a deeper level. So those energetic cords that are attached with those things, although I don't understand them, I haven't physically experienced them, but I can help them cut the cords. But I can't be a counselor or a therapist if I've never experienced any of that stuff, if that makes sense. But you understand more deeply because I understand what being SA'd means. I understand what being a drug and alcohol, being within drugs and alcohol can do to the body, but I've never experienced it. Okay? Law of rhythm. Life flows in cycles and season. Everything rises and falls. Nature's seasons reflect this. Winter is rest. Spring is renewal. Summer's growth. Autumn's release. The same rhythms show up in your creative energy. We go in cycles. We go in flows. And then the last one, 12, law of gender. Masculine and feminine energies exist in everything. Balance brings harmony. In work, masculine energy shows up as planning and doing. Feminine energy as intuition and flow. When you balance them, you're productive and inspired. Also, your upper energy centers are your feminine, and your lower energy centers are your masculine, your yin and your yang. Even within our bodies, we have this universal law of gender. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, those are your 12 universal spiritual laws. Read them, understand them, review them, and then try to implement them in your everyday life.